Hello everyone and welcome back to the 3T Path channel. My name is Giridhari Das and today we're continuing with our wonderful Gita Mahatmya series, and today's topic is quite interesting. We'll learn the power of the third chapter of the Bhagavad-gita and we'll answer a question that you may have not thought of, but how do you remove your family members from hell? Because usually we think, oh, of course our family members are so wonderful, they've gone to heaven. But really, so more likely they could be stuck in hell. And you'll learn about that today, and also how to get rid of ghosts hanging around. So very interesting topic today. Again, so the Gita Mahatmya is a conversation that happens first between Lord Vishnu and Lakshmi, but it's actually Lord Shiva telling it to Parvati from what he's heard from Lord Vishnu talking to Lakshmi. So anyway, so here we go. Sri Vishnu said, "My dear Lakshmi, in the town of Janastan was a brahmana of the name Jada, who was born in the dynasty of Kaushik. The brahmana gave up religious activities enjoyed in the Shastras to be followed by brahmana, and took to many irreligious activities. He was very fond of gambling and drinking, hunting, and visiting prostitutes." So this brahmana was a complete failure, complete disaster. He abandoned all his brahmana vows and path, and he was just living a very fallen lifestyle. In this way, he wasted his wealth. He went to the northern countries on a business trip. While there, he gained much wealth and decided to return to Janastan. After having traveled a long distance, he found himself in a very deserted place. That day, as the sun set and everywhere became engulfed by darkness, he decided to take rest for the night under a tree. While resting, some robbers came and beat him to death and stole his wealth. Because Jada had given up all religious activities and led a sinful life, after his death, he attained the form of a ghost. That's very interesting. So for one thing, he's, at any moment that comes, he's like, oh, this is great, I'm rich now, I'm going back home, everything is good, and then you just die. You get beaten to death and everything's stolen. So that's the nature of life. These things on the surface, they can just change from one moment to the other. And the other interesting thing is becoming a ghost. I talk about that in my video, what happens after death. And one of the things the Veda says that if you have this kind of a sudden death and you're not ready for it, and especially you just lost something, you're beaten up, it's like it's a kind of a drastic, radical, scary situation, then you get stuck in the form of a ghost. You're not ready for death yet. It was too premature, too sudden. So then he got stuck. And also because he had committed so many sinful activities, his mind wasn't clear, he wasn't ready. So he got stuck in a ghostly form, which isn't very nice at all. You just kind of hang in there and you can't do anything. It's very frustrating. So the son of Jada, so he had a son, but he was very religious and learned in the Vedic Shastra. So he had a very good son. He had that going for him. When he saw that his father had not returned to Janastan after a long time, he decided to go and search for him. For many days he traveled here and there in search of his father, and whatever travelers he would meet, he would inquire from them about his father. One day he met a person who knew his father and informed him of the events that had taken place. When the son of Jada heard the news of his father's death, he decided to go to Kashi, to Benares, to offer pinda, worship, for the release of his father from his hellish conditions. So of course in the traditional Vedic culture, you have pinda offerings, you have special offerings you make to help the ancestors, and so they would keep them, the ancestors who are departed, they would keep them well. They had this idea, this very common idea, and very common in the culture. Of course, this isn't for yogis, this is for people who are being religious, and so they would help their forefathers like that. So he decided to do that. He decided, oh, I'm gonna have to, at least do some offerings, do the proper things as a son to help my father out, to doing these pinda offerings. On the 9th day of his journey, he happened to take rest under the same tree under which his father had been killed. At that place, in the evening, he performed his daily worship to Sri Krishna. And he also recited the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita. So he was very nice. He was a yogi. He wasn't just a brahmana. He was a proper yogi, a devotee of Krishna. And so he was doing his daily duties, and it included studying and reading Bhagavad-gita. And so he recited the whole 3rd canto of the Bhagavad-gita right under that tree where his father had died, which he didn't know about it then, but Krishna had guided him there. As he completed his recitation, a loud sound came from the sky. When he looked up, he saw his father there in front of his eyes. His father's form changed into one of the most beautiful beings who had 4 hands and was wearing a yellow dhoti. So he had this magical, he's like there, and all of a sudden he sees his father, and then he sees his father transforming into a Vishnu Duta with 4 arms, like this beautiful Vishnu, Narayan form, 4 arms. He had Sarupya, he attained the form of Vishnu. He attained this beautiful form. And then the son inquired. At that time, the father offered his blessings to him. His body was the color of dark raincoat, and his bodily effulgence was lighting up all the directions. At that time, his father offered his blessings to him. The son inquired from the father as to the meaning of these wonderful happenings. The father said, "My dear son, you recited the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita and thus freed me from the ghost form which I had received due to my sinful activities. Now you should return to your home because the purpose for which you were traveling to Kashi, Benares, has been achieved by your reciting the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita." So right away, we understand that the whole, doing the rituals, you can bypass all that just by reaching out to Krishna. Just by chanting the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita, you can now satisfy all your forefathers, all your ancestors in a better way than doing any kind of more mundane religious ritual. So very powerful first lesson here. Take care of your forefathers by just chanting the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita. When the son inquired from the father if there were any further instruction from him, the father said, "My brother also led a very sinful life, and he is suffering somewhere in the darkest regions of hell. So if you wish to free him and our other ancestors who are suffering here and there in different species in the material universe, then kindly recite the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. And by that recitation, they will attain a form similar to Sri Vishnu and go to Vaikuntha." So he's saying, look, they will change what's called Sarupya liberation. They will all attain Sarupya liberation like I have, just from this chanting of the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. It's quite a claim. It's quite a grand claim, but that's the power. And God can do whatever He wants, right? He can do whatever He wants, and He can imbue such an important text, the Bhagavad-gita, with any power He wants. And He's imbued it with this tremendous power to encourage people to share it and study, because the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, it's actually very important, and you can become completely liberated for sure. Never mind claims, but just you will directly be liberated from the world just by reading by understanding the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad-gita, because it explains karma yoga. It explains how to act in this world in spiritual connections. It's a very powerful chapter indeed. But now Vishnu is saying, look, I've empowered this chapter so that if you read it with this purpose, you will actually liberate your family members from hell. I'll liberate them as well. I'll give them Sarupya liberation. They'll attain the same form as me. Very powerful. Thereafter, the son returned to Janastan and sat in front of his deity of Sri Krishna. So he had a nice deity of Sri Krishna. And with a desire to free all of the conditioned souls. So then he's a compassionate devotee. Devotees want to free all of the conditioned souls. So with a desire to free all of the conditioned souls in hellish conditions, he started reciting the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita. While his recitation was continuing day after day, Sri Vishnu sent his messengers, the Vishnu Dutas, to the kingdom of Yamaraj. So Krishna saw this. Krishna saw his pure devotee chanting the 3rd chapter of Bhagavad-gita with the desire to free everyone from hell. He didn't even just want to free his own family members. He expanded his father's request and he just wanted to free everyone from suffering because he was such a compassionate, sweet devotee, and he was such a powerful, pure devotee that God himself, Vishnu, he heard this and he sent his Vishnu Dutas, his servants, to the kingdom of Yamaraj, who is in charge of administering punishment to the sinful living entities. When the Vishnu Dutas arrived in front of Lord Yamaraj, they informed him that they had a message from Sri Vishnu, who is lying on the bed of Ananta Shesha in the ocean of milk. They told him that Sri Vishnu was inquiring as to his welfare and also was ordering him to free all of the conditioned souls who were suffering in hell. So it's a very strange request. So Yamaraj is doing his business, he's got like all these souls in hell going through intense karmic training, dharma, spa, and they're all trying to learn to be better people. And then he gets this message, look, the big boss is saying, let everyone go. When Yamaraj heard this instruction from Sri Vishnu, he immediately had all the conditioned souls released from hell. Of course, he's not going to question God's orders. He's like, okay, everybody go. Everybody's released. And then personally went with those Vishnu Dutas to the ocean of milk known as Swetadvipa to have the darshan of Sri Vishnu. So of course, Sri Vishnu, within every universe, there's a little embassy of the spiritual world, is Swetadvipa, where Lord Vishnu, the expansion of Vishnu that is within every universe, is present in this ocean of milk. And so you might remember that just before Krishna comes down, all the demigods, they go to the shore, not to the actual island, but they go to the shore facing Swetadvipa, and they pray to Lord Vishnu, asking for him to come down to help the world fight. And then Krishna decides to come. So Swetadvipa is like this embassy, so that's why these demigods, they can get close to it. It's not quite like the kingdom of God, the transcendent. It's not beyond this universe, it's within this universe. It's like a little embassy. And so that's why these demigods can go and visit there. So Yamaraj went there to Swetadvipa, to the transcendental embassy, as it were. He arrived there, he saw Sri Vishnu lying on the bed of Ananta Shesha. His body had the effulgence of suns, and Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune, was massaging his feet. He was surrounded on all sides by rishis, sages, and demigods, headed by Sri Indra, who were all singing the praises of Sri Vishnu. Sri Brahma was also present, reciting the Vedas. Yamaraj fell down and offered his respects before Sri Vishnu and offered the following praise. My dear Vishnu, you are the well-wisher of all conditioned souls. There is no limit to your glories. From you the Vedas have come. You are time. And in the course of time you destroy all things. You are the cause and maintainer of the three worlds, and you are the super soul within everyone's heart, who is directing their activities. You are the guru of the whole universe and the goal of all devotees. There's a nice little simple prayer. O lotus-eyed one, please accept my obeisances again and again. Your glories are unlimited. It's a very nice prayer. Very, very nicely done. In this way, Yamaraj, with folded hands, offered his respects to Sri Vishnu. Yamaraj continued. Now he's like, after the prayers, now he's like, why he really came there. As per your instructions, I have released all the conditioned souls from hell. So kindly instruct me what work you wish me to perform now. Like, no, because that was my job. You want me to do that? So like, what do you want me to do now? He says, yeah, we're not doing the hell thing anymore. What's the new thing now? Sri Vishnu replied in a voice as deep as thunder and as sweet as nectar. My dear Dharmaraj, which is another name for Yamaraj, the Lord of Dharma, Dharmaraj. You are equal to everyone, and I do not need to instruct you on your duties. Kindly return to your abode with my full blessings and continue your duty. So that was just like we've done that because the brahmana, the sweet devotee requested it. But now, we're going to be filling up hell again pretty soon. So that was just a one-time thing. At that time, Sri Vishnu disappeared from the vision of Yamaraj, and Yamaraj returned to his abode. After that, Brahmana had successfully freed all of his ancestors and the rest of the conditioned souls from hell. The Vishnu Dutas came and took him to the abode of Sri Vishnu, where he was able to engage in the service of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead eternally. So they cleared out hell, and then so Yamaraj went back to hell, and then the same Vishnu Dutas who had given those instructions to Yamaraj, they said they went there and they also liberated the brahmanas. So like, let's just go. You can go now. Don't hang around here anymore. Especially we can't keep emptying hell. That's gonna. We need hell for a reason. So they took him back as well. So everybody's back. So that's the story. That's the power of the third chapter of the Bhagavad-gita. You make sure you chant out the third chapter, listen to it. Again, they're beautiful. You can go online. There are beautiful recordings of the third chapter in beautiful Sanskrit and proper, perfect pronunciation, some with beautiful musical accompaniment. So make sure you check that out, listen to it, and of course, even better though, study the actual, unless you're like a Sanskrit, you understand Sanskrit, actually study the third chapter of the Bhagavad-gita and practice it, and that is the most wonderful thing you can do. So that's it for now. Have your rest of your day with lots of peace and lots of love.